Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the July Council meeting. Welcome councillors, welcome staff, welcome members of our community, those that have joined us in person and also those that are listening online. Members of the public that have registered to speak by audio-visual link on an agenda item, please keep your microphone muted and video off until I invite you to speak. Speakers will not be able to present material as part of their speaking time or share their screen. I sound very loud. Am I really loud? I feel like my microphone's blaring. Everyone at this meeting is reminded to conduct themselves in a polite and professional manner, keep communication factual, use appropriate language and tone, do not use any defamatory or derogatory marks. Defamation laws apply to addresses in public forum. I also ask councillors to observe the requirements under the Code of Meeting Practice and Meeting Etiquette, including debate on an item will commence only once we have a mover and a seconder. The mover has a right of reply before the motion is put. Please raise your hand to indicate you wish to speak. On commencement of you speaking on a motion or amendment, please indicate clearly whether you are speaking for or against the motion or amendment. Please ensure you address the chair only rather than any councillors, staff or members of the public. For the efficient conduct of this meeting, it is not necessary for you to repeat the matters you agree with and raised by any previous speaker. It is sufficient for you to say that you agree with the points raised. I remind all present that the video recording is an official record of council and may be made available to persons upon request in accordance with the Government Information Public Access Act 2009. No other recordings are permitted. Therefore, all present should ensure there are no video recordings or photographs taken. The only exception is photographs can be taken when members of the public receive a prize tonight or staff. Then that's fine. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians, the Gadigal and Bidjigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. We now have the opening prayer, and I would like to thank and invite Reverend Colin Watts from St Stephen's Anglican Church, East Lakes, to open the meeting in prayer. Please be upstanding.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'll lead us in prayer. O Lord God, through your Son, Jesus, you have revealed your servant heart and have taught us that greatness is expressed through the service of others. So we thank you for our council members who have offered themselves in service of our local community, and we pray that you might bless them in their endeavours. Grant them wisdom in their decision-making, fruitfulness in their discussions, and may they work together in harmony for the common good of the people of Bayside. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend, for joining us this evening. Okay, councillors, we'll just move to condolences, and I'd just like to acknowledge Vale Amira Mogni. Our hearts are heavy as we mourn the death of Amira Mogni, a cherished mother of three whose life was tragically taken in an act of domestic violence. We hold her children, family, friends and community in our thoughts. We are forced to confront a harsh reality. Amira is the 28th Australian woman to have fallen victim to domestic violence this year alone. This staggering statistic translates to an average of one woman per week killed by a current or former partner. It's time we say enough is enough. We must stand together to end this heartbreaking cycle of violence. Domestic violence has reached epidemic proportions, devastating lives and community. Heartbreaking that we can't keep our women safe. And Amira was a Bexley resident, and so our thoughts are with her family and friends, and this is why the work, we're doing such important work in domestic and family violence. We have our action plan that we talked about last meeting that won an honourable mention. And there's a lot in our action plan, and we've got our walk against domestic and family violence coming up in November. And I know that people in the community, particularly around Bexley, have reached out to councillors about what they can do, and it's about encouraging people to get involved in the walk and things, because awareness is vital. Awareness, education, and then action. And so I do want to reiterate, if you know, there is the 1800 respect number, and in an emergency, if we see or hear anything, it's important to call 000 and call the police to when we see something like that. So just want to acknowledge that. Thank you. All right. The FIFA Women's World Cup, a very exciting first win. And so we held our live screen down at Cook Park, Kiama, a bit chilly, bit of a chilly night. But very exciting. We'll be live streaming the Australia versus Canada game on Monday night as well at Much Park. So just want to acknowledge the Matildas, who put in a great performance to defeat Ireland 1-0. So much to the delight of all our residents who were down there, and everyone else who was at the game or watching. So let's promote the Monday night event to everyone. All right, tonight we have some presentations, and this is a very exciting. We've got one of our staff members here, Trent Malley, and Trent, who many of you will know, and those that have visited this stunning Bexley Oval will know the amazing job that Trent does in keeping that pitch and that area just looking fantastic. So Trent has actually won the Ground of the Year award. I better read the preamble. The Ground of the Year awards are made to acknowledge the important contribution of ground staff to the success of the grade competitions, with officiating umpires assessing every ground on every match day during the season. The Mayor and councillors congratulate Trent for his work maintaining the pitch. This is the 5th year that Trent has been recognised by the Sydney Shires Cricket Association for this important contribution to the game of cricket. So congratulations, Trent. If you'd like to come out, we'd like to acknowledge and recognise your commitment. And Bexley Oval's about to receive our first Petonk court as well, which is underway currently and should be finished in about 4 weeks. And those councillors will remember early last year when our local Petonk residents came into council and shared their enthusiasm for Petonk. And I'm very proud that we took that on board, and as a council we've created that, because it's really important to provide those opportunities for our residents to be active and good for well-being, sense of belonging. So it's thanks to all the staff, and it's been internally done as well, hasn't it? Designed and built, which is a credit to the staff. So wonderful. All right, now we have, many of you would have seen our awards for Plastics Free July, and I'm sure some of you participated in that. So it's an initiative of the Plastic Free Foundation where all participants commit to reducing or eliminating consumption of single-use plastics. This great activity aligns very neatly with our waste reduction strategy and was promoted through our newsletters and social channels. And I know that staff got very involved in the initiative as well, which is fantastic. Bayside residents were asked to register their participation and were eligible to win prizes. So from the entries received, so there's a lot of enthusiasm, 3 winners have been chosen. So our first prize of the Red Balloon Whale Watching voucher goes to Kylie Ossel. But I don't think Kylie's here, is she? So we'll present that to Kylie. So great effort. If you're listening online, Kylie, amazing, well done. Our second and third prizes of a reusable bento-style lunchbox go to Ruby Faith Faluni Asawa and also Daphne Law. But I believe we've got Daphne here. Wonderful. Would you like to come up, Daphne? Wonderful. You just come from judo, taekwondo. Would you like to come too? Proud of Mummy? Well, we should continue it as much as we can too, not just for 1 month of the year. Okay. Apologies. We don't have any apologies tonight. It's good. We'll now go to disclosures of interest. So we'll go via the screen. Councillor Saranowski.
Yeah. In relation to 10.1, thank you, Got it. I'm declaring a less significant non-pecuniary item. This, my son currently does not play football, but he did play, he's out injured, permanently injured. I'm not on any committee. I do go and see, I do follow sport. But I will be in the chamber when this item is discussed.
Thank you, Councillor Saranowski. Are there any others? Any other declarations, Councillor Douglas?
For the council motion 12.2 regarding the speed humps, I just have to make a non-significant, non-pecuniary disclosure of interest in regards to the fact that I was the founder of the Peaceful Bayside campaign that has been campaigning for peaceful streets, but I will stay in the chamber for the voting.
Thank you, Councillor Douglas. Any others? Councillor Jack?
Yes, I echo Councillor Saranowski's 10.1, less than significant non-pecuniary, as I am a member of a soccer football club, but I hold no role, so I'll be staying in the chamber for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cedric. Any others? Okay. Thank you, councillors. Note those. We now move to the minutes of the previous meeting of 28th of June 2023. Moved Councillor Nargi, seconded Councillor Saranowski. No amendments. Okay. Move that those minutes be accepted. All in favour say aye. Aye. Against, declare it carried. Mayoral minutes. Apologies, councillors. My mayoral minute didn't make it onto the agenda, but it was sent around as a later adjustment. So this is the work that we've been doing as part of SS Rock, which is leading a reform agenda on waste. So what this motion asks is that council works with other Sydney councils on reducing waste and improving environmental outcomes and finding new solutions to reducing waste. And many of you will be familiar, we've talked about our war strategy, which is and moving towards working through a circular economy model, and which is a national award winner. So very exciting. We've also represented on a panel around waste as well. So we're really the team's doing amazing work in that space, which is just fantastic. So and this then continues that council, so SS Rock, a lot of councils are looking at putting up, that we asked the New South Wales government to invest the revenue from its waste levy for council in industry initiatives that accelerate the transition to a circular economy, that build the waste infrastructure needed to meet the growing pressures resulting from population growth, loss of landfill capacity, and a lack of competition in the sector, because we've got approximately, I think it's around 10 years, isn't it, before we run out of a capability in order to manage our waste effectively. So, and that we continue to educate and support our communities to reduce waste. So there's a little bit more detail background there for councillors that would like to read a little bit further there. Is there any speakers? All right, I put the motion.
No, sorry,
Councillor Barlow?
just that, congratulate all our council for the way they've, proceeded. And having been to Woodlawn Eco Precinct and seeing how the waste is converted there, and then to Vizzy's in the last couple of weeks, it is amazing. And every person you meet in those, they live and breathe waste. They are there to make life better for everyone. So I just congratulate us. And it's trying to convince people that we are doing the best we can, but there's certain residents that would not believe anything. You can point it to them and they won't believe it, but, we've won a national award. It's just amazing. So congratulations.
And I think that's a good point, because there's different models and, and not everyone understands the details of the different approaches. And I think we've got quite a bit of information now on our website and in continuing to educate people and different initiatives as well around, for example, not putting batteries in our rubbish bins and, and the plastics initiative. And so there's quite a few, things that we will continue to do as well. Councillor Naji.
Yeah, just briefly, I've always encouraged councillors to attend the waste conference. The waste conference is all councils all around the country, the state, and they all have a vision to look after the environment. And I am so pleased, and I congratulate our department led by Mr. Bissell and Joe and the rest of the team. We are the leading council that want to protect the environment, and the residents should know this, should be aware of this, that we are one of the leading councils that we do, and we've won awards. So congratulations again, and keep up the good work.
Here. Thank you, Councillor Naji. Excellent. All right. Next is items by exception. So the items that so we might just go around the room and you let me know any other items you want to pull out. At this point, we're pulling out item 10.1, as we 10.2, 10.3, 10.4, 10.5, and the notices of motion. Are there any other items that councillors would like to pull out? So I might go around the room. Councillor Morrissey, Councillor Muscat, Councillor Fidel, Councillor Jansen, Councillor Naji. Councillor Saranowski, Councillor Souness, Councillor Werner, Councillor Wada, Councillor Barlow.
10.7.
10.7. Thank you. Councillor Hannah.
Yes, please, 10.8. And 10.9.
Thank you.
I promise I won't be wrong on
It's a democracy, Councillor Hannah. Councillor Douglas, Councillor McDougall, Councillor Cedric. Okay, excellent. So, therefore, we will deal with the items by exception for those that have been pulled out. Someone move Councillor Morrissey, seconding Councillor Souness. All those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. Okay, councillors, this now takes us to the public forum. We have two speakers, with one speaker speaking to two items. So the first one that we'll be dealing with is item 10.1. So this is the application of the 23-24 fees and charges for sports fields. So I now invite Mr. Garnet Brownbill, an interested resident who is speaking against the committee recommendation.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and councillors. I wish to raise my concerns with regards to the response provided to the proposed fees and charges. As stated within the report, it indicates there are financial implications. Charging the reduced fees for the last 2 months of the winter season is anticipated to reduce expected fee income by approximately $70,000. Just going back to the long-term financial plan, and it's probably a question I'd like to have answered if I could tonight. I believe that we had a surplus of $89,000. Does this $70,000, and I know Councillor Souness is an issue you raised within this meeting last time, does this $70,000 reduce us from that $89,000? If I can just clarify that, please.
We can't take any questions.
No, I understand. But if you have previously and set precedent previously, if it could be asked by one of the council members, that would be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Brownbill. Okay, we have a recommendation in front of us. Councillor Awada.
I'm happy to move that with an amendment to the recommendation. So replacing that, and it will be up on the
Moved
screen
Councillor
shortly.
Wada, seconded Councillor Saranowski.
And
Amendment,
it'll be up
yep.
on the screen shortly, but I'll read it out. We'll have A, defer the application of 2023-24 fees for home clubs and associations for seasonal sport field and cricket wicket allocation booking until the 1st of July 2024 to allow time to, and there's 2 dot points, undertake further detailed research analysis on sport field allocation fee models and their potential impact on our sports and community, and report to council by December 2023, which is the end of this year. Finalise Bayside sport field allocation policy, including the sport field allocation fee model, in consultation with sporting bodies and our community, to be formally endorsed by council by July 2024. So that'll be mid next year. It's B, that the 2022-23 fees and charges would apply for home club and associations applicable to senior bookings for seasonal sport field and cricket wicket allocation, including lighting. C, that all other 23-24 adopted fees and charges would apply, including fees applicable for sport clinics. I guess with that sort of motion, it'll give us a bit of time to get a fair idea on what clubs paid historically and what we could charge them. That will give us time to basically come to council back in December and then mid next year. So I hope you could support me on that. Thank you.
Councillor Wada. Any speakers? Yeah, we just put it to the, we might just give the councillors a moment to read it from the top, please.
I've also got a question to the chair.
Or just give them a moment if you don't mind. Just
Okay.
let everyone read it. So basically, I think because it was never the intent of the original recommendation for the changes to the sporting groups. The intent was for it to commence in the summer season, but because it wasn't, hence why we had in the recommendation that we would do some modelling by the end of the year. But because it wasn't articulated in that way in the resolution, it's meant that they were applied from the 1st of July. And this has not allowed our volunteer sporting community clubs to budget for this. And so that's also then played out to the cricket players in the summer as well. They just haven't, they're being invoiced now and they haven't budgeted for that. So this then, and there is a little bit of discrepancy in the different models that are being applied across different councils. So it's really important that we have a closer look at different models and then come up with a something that takes into consideration a range of variables. So that's the background to this. Okay. You have a question, Councillor Werner?
Thank you. So I was just wondering whether I'm assuming that the working surplus that was mentioned in the previous financial reports that doesn't affect that, or was this extra charge taken into account with our previous budgeting? So I think the working surplus was something like 80,000. So if we're losing this, does it mean
We're not losing it because we never had it. So
Okay.
technically, yeah.
just wanted to confirm
yeah.
that. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Hannah?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, I haven't got any real opposition to this, but we seem to take things right down to the last week, last minute with financial stuff. So I'm just going to make a suggestion that maybe we need to bring that July 24 date back to around about May. I don't know whether that's going to allow enough time to be effective from July, fees and charges, but
So it's
to
in
be,
December. So it's
yeah, but the
point
next
2
bit,
needs to say by December 2023.
and cut out the July thing and have it effective from July 24. Because
So the end of point 2 by December, by December 2023. Then council will visit that by the end of this year, and then we can determine a model, and then we go out to community and say from 1st of July 2024, this is the financial model. Get prepared. You got 6 months lead time in order to know what you need to budget for. Are you comfortable with that? Yeah. Okay. Yes, Councillor Wynne.
Sorry, just again, it actually mentions it in the point above point 2, so it's the last dot
Oh, I
point
thought
of
it was
point
somewhere
1.
there. Oh, okay. It was a different font that threw me. All right, any other speakers? Okay, move the amendment. All those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. Okay, we now moving to 10.3. This is the Code of Meeting Practice Review. I just want to reiterate, this is a draft for exhibition. We are not endorsing anything tonight other than to go out on exhibition, and that is the opportunity for community to provide any feedback in relation to this. So I invite Mr. Garnet Brownbill, interested resident, speaking against the committee recommendation.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor and councillors. I'd also like to respond to this. It is a draft, I understand that, but in order to help those online and to maybe provide some information to councillors themselves in my discussions with them, I'd like to raise the following. Given that Bayside Council has focused heavily on its ability to engage with the Bayside community and has desired to improve the ability of community members to interact, participate with and engage with council, it is extremely difficult to understand why this motion has been brought tonight. And the proposals to limit the public forum as detailed within the business papers and this motion. On review of the previous 6 months of council and committee meetings, the public forum has taken up less than 1% of the time of those meetings. Less than 1%. Given this, it is extremely difficult to understand how it has been determined that the public forum is required to be restricted as so discussed in this report. Community members are provided a time limit, a maximum of 5 minutes by which to convey their concerns or issues. They are rarely offered an opportunity to extend the time by which they can communicate with the council chambers and as such rarely go beyond the 5-minute allocation. It would be apparent then that there is not the community members who take up council meeting, but sometimes it's the councillors and their behaviour and actions.
Mr Brownville.
Sometimes,
Please
sometimes,
focus.
apparent,
Please
apparent, sometimes. Okay, in my opinion. I don't know if that makes it better, but anyway. To this, and upon review of the Code of Meeting Practice for Bayside Council, there are significant capabilities of the Chair to address this. As stated within 10.7.3, limitations on the number and duration of speeches, it says the following.
Your time's up.
Had a heart attack there. Yeah, Mr. Brownwell can never speak again. Yeah, 10.7.3. A councillor must not, without the consent of the council, speak more than once on a motion or an amendment, or for longer than 5 minutes at any one time. Again, review of the Bayside Council video recordings, it is clear on numerous occasions that this is often not the case, with councillors taking well over 5 minutes, often speaking twice, and sometimes repeating issues already raised by other councillors. This was particularly the case in March this year when a single item took over an hour and a half, with 7 councillors making comments and nearly all of them repetitive and beyond the time allocated. It is hoped that councillors will consider the concerns raised and take this into consideration tonight, moving forward, and the proposal identified within the public forum. I understand that this motion is intended to go on public consultation, and as such, it is hoped that the information provided here assists both community members and councillors addressing this moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Saranovsky.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Janet. I'm going to move the, as this is a draft, I'm going to move the recommendation with the exclusion of any reference of putting restrictions on public forum. It's important that we listen to the community and give every single person that wants to address public forum an opportunity to speak their mind and tell us good points and bad points. And that I would like that taken out, because whilst I'm on council, whilst I've got oxygen in my body, I would never deny anyone, ever, an opportunity to come to the public forum and speak to this council. And I urge all residents, including Garnet and the residents that are watching this on Facebook, take the opportunity to read it and tell us what you think. That's a critical issue. Tell us what you think. For me, I read all the submissions that's submitted to me, and I'll take on board whatever's been said. But I just want to emphasise again, I'm moving the recommendation, and we exclude any restrictions on the public forum.
Second, Councillor Wilder. Are there any speakers? Councillor Hannah.
Yeah, thank you. I commend Councillor Sarafinovsky for that, moving that amendment, because I've got to say that I was a little bit embarrassed when I read this. This was in fact triggered, I think, by Councillor Barlow.
Yes.
Councillor Barlow requesting a fairly microscopic change to have an agenda item added about condolences, and then we get presented with what's described as a soft review. I certainly don't want to be part of a council that actually goes out with a draft such as this, which serves to restrict and limit the ability of members of our public to come and address us in the true, real decision-making body of council. I just think, you know, we can do better than that. There's mechanisms in place where we can have time limits. The chair has the ability to pull people into line and all the rest of it. And I just think in its current form, it really does not send the right signal to our residents. And look, going back over the years when I was on council previously, you know, we got things done as a result of community representation and community addressing us in this chamber, not just on matters that were put on the agenda by council officers, but via notices of motion and rescission motions. We built Bexley Aquatic Centre on notices of motion. So I think we really need to make sure that we let the public into this chamber. Obviously, we regulate it and we have controls in place. We have time limits and all that sort of stuff. But we've got to let our public into this chamber to address us. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hannah. And I think just to back to your earlier point about, you know, I think there was the opportunity then for staff to tidy up the code of meeting, because there is a code that where a number of amendments had to be made as well. So the opportunity was taken to be able to do that. So, but it's yeah, it's good that, you know, we have the opportunity to just discuss it, and also that the community also has the opportunity to provide their input. So thank you, Councillor Hannah. Any other speakers?
I apologise, it was me that caused it all. But in all of this, I think it was the 9th of August 1995, I spoke in public for the first time at that lectern. Bill, you're the only councillor that's left in the chamber. And I was trying to fight the terraces, which we lost, with your help. But it was the fact that there's only three people in this chamber that have actually spoken at public forum. I think Councillor Douglas, Councillor Hannah and myself. So when I saw this, I was horrified because sorry? Oh, have you? Oh, good. But anyway, it must have been before council, yeah. Anyway, I'm glad that the change has become, there's one change, I think, it's 4.5, page 92, that three could speak on 3 items. I thought we were reducing that to 2. It's on draft, it's 3 at the moment, so it's up.
It's up to councillors. Do you want to have 2 items or 3? That was the...
3? Okay, yeah. So I'm pleased that it's going out in exhibition this way, because the reaction from residents was quite dramatic, and freedom of speech needs to be there, and they need to feel as though they've been heard. Whether they're listened to or not doesn't matter, it's the fact they like to be heard.
I might just, Councillor Saranowski, if we can say with the exclusion of any restrictions on speakers on public forum, because otherwise we lose all all control. So, yeah. Is that okay? Any other speakers? No other speakers. Do you want a right of reply? No. All right. All those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. Thank you, councillors. Now we have a public speaker for item 12.1, which is a notice of motion to declare Bayside a nuclear-free zone. So I believe, Mr. Strong, you are online. You're an interested resident speaking for the motion. If I could ask you to unmute and put your camera on, and you may address council, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you and I can see you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Hello, councillors and everybody there. Yes, I'd like to speak in support of item number 12.1, declare Bayside a nuclear-free zone. On Sunday, 6th of August 2023 is the 78th anniversary of the first use of nuclear weapons in warfare. Never again should we blindly walk into a situation where it's seen acceptable to use nuclear weapons. I believe that Council should mark this sombre 78th anniversary by declaring Bayside Council a nuclear-free zone and reaffirming its commitment to the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons and making a stand against AUKUS. It's heartening to see other councils with nuclear-free signs, like the Inner West Council, who in 2020 took a stand against the New South Wales Nationals and One Nation to push to lift New South Wales' 33-year-old ban on uranium mining. It would be a powerful statement for Bayside Council to oppose uranium and support sustainable and peaceful clean energy solutions. I believe it is in the interest of a truly peaceful Bayside future that Council calls on the federal government to withdraw from the trilateral security pact between Australia, the United Kingdom, United States, known as AUKUS. We don't need AUKUS. We don't need another Cold War. We have to demilitarise and reclaim our collective futures. Funds should be used for climate action and addressing the cost of living crisis, not dangerous and needless submarines. We have to dismantle the war machine and co-create a better, more sustainable future of international goodwill and cooperation. One alternative to AUKUS and other military alliances is to invest in diplomacy and conflict resolution and work towards a demilitarised world. Instead of relying on weapons and military power to resolve conflicts, we can prioritise cooperation and understanding between nations. Local councils, being in the closest contact with local communities, have a role to play in speaking out for a peaceful future. Addressing the root causes of insecurity and conflict, such as climate change, economic inequality, and political oppression, we can help build a more peaceful and just world. To achieve this, councils would be good to join in the global movement against warmongering, foreign policies, and for peace and cooperation. This can involve activism, education, cultural exchange programs to build bridges and promote mutual understanding across borders. All around Australia, community-level anti-AUKUS groups are forming and activating to protest on a big scale. By working together towards a demilitarised and just world, we can ensure a more secure and sustainable future for all. The declaration of a nuclear-free zone is a symbolic statement banning nuclear weapons and nuclear power. It does not prohibit radiopharmaceuticals used in nuclear medicine. Over 100 local government areas have declared themselves nuclear-free zones. Wollongong has a long-standing commitment to a nuclear-free zone, having first made that declaration in 1980 and renewing the commitment several times. Nuclear power and nuclear weapons pose a serious threat to human and environmental health and safety. An uncontrolled nuclear action can cause widespread contamination of air and water, something which has occurred most notably in Fukushima in Japan and Chernobyl in the Ukraine. Nuclear power also creates radioactive waste that remains dangerous to human health for thousands of years. Nuclear weapons can cause catastrophic harm and are a threat to safety and security of all life on Earth. They are the most destructive, inhumane and indiscriminate weapons ever created. A world without nuclear weapons is a world that's safer and more secure. So I believe Bayside Council should join the growing chorus of voices against nuclear proliferation for the good of all. So I support that motion of 12.1, and thank you for your ears. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Strong.
All right, I'll mute myself.
And you can turn your camera off. That'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks for joining us. Okay, we've got a notice of motion in front of us. I'm a mover. Move Councillor Werner. Seconder. No seconder, therefore the motion lapses. Okay, councillors, that takes us back to the report. We've got, we're now going to item 10.2, which is the review of the ward boundaries. I have a mover.
I move the officer recommendation and the preferred option of 8.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Bardell. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Werner. Is there any discussion? Councillor Douglas.
Could we look at 8A instead? From memory, 8 doesn't actually include a section of the community that I mentioned that the committee were feeling aggrieved and disconnected because one side of the street is on Ward 5 and one side of the street is in Ward 3. That's along Francis Avenue. So are we going to exhibit both 8 and 8A?
So we've got to choose an option. So the recommendation that's been put forward is option 8.
So I was just speaking in support of 8A, which was brought up because there's a section in Brighton where, like, Francis Avenue, for instance, on one side is Ward 5, on the other side is Ward 3. And it doesn't make sense because there's then a big body of green space behind them before they get to Rockdale. It's the same as Kings Street and Kings Road in Crawford as well, where it's like a section of the community in Brighton where one side of the street is basically on one ward and one is on the other, which in the briefing that Fausto gave us, that we are meant to make sure we're retaining cohesiveness of those communities and not dividing them unnecessarily.
Thank you, Councillor Douglas. Councillor Narji?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I really wanted to support option 13, but it's not in the recommendation. Just as for the boundaries, if you look across all the LGA, even Botany, Ward 1, all other wards, there are a line and sometimes it divides. If you look at Bardwell Valley, some of the streets, part of it is in Ward 2 and 3 and so on. So there's got to be a line drawn anyway. So that's why I'm really going to have my name recorded against option 8. I would have loved to see 13, but I'll go with the will of the council. This is democracy. But to have an argument that a line is drawn between a street, part of it is in one ward and another part in another ward, look at the plans on all of them. There's got to be a line, and it has it in nearly every ward. In one street or one road, one part of it is in one ward, and you've got to draw the line somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Narji. Councillor Werner?
Yeah, thank you. I would like to support option 8A as well. I agree with Councillor Douglas that I think it's Francis Street is in that part, between Ward 3 and Ward 5. I think that is quite confusing as it is now, except that option 8A actually solves the problems we've had in the past. So just wanted to support 8A as well.
Thank you, Councillor Werner. Any other speakers? Councillor Barlow?
I'll just make the comment, I know you have boundaries down the middle of the street, but from my memory of Francis Avenue it's down the middle of the street. There's those houses for Ward 5, that's Ward 3. Then you've got a stormwater canal, there's a whole distance. It's not as though it's like Harrow Road, one side's Ward 3, Ward 3? One side's Ward 4, but it's all houses. This has got this great gap between, so suddenly you've got this little strip of houses that belong to someone else, and they've got to walk all the way down to past Barton Park. They've got to come down. That's the logic, is the fact that it's not a street boundary, it becomes a boundary behind the canals, and there's all the parkland, netball courts. So that was the difference, I think. That's what I believe is the difference of the boundary change there compared to the boundaries that everyone else has straight down the middle of the street, but it's all residential both sides. So that's what I feel. I can understand why they would prefer that option.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow. So we've got a recommendation in front of us.
Sorry, can I just speak briefly on this? Because as Councillor Narji said, there's got to be lines somewhere. And it's very difficult to draw lines and say you take in both sides of a street. You end up then with one person on the, like Bruce Street at Brighton Les Sands, which runs perpendicular off Francis Avenue. You have one person on that street on either side who ends up in the ward. So like using roads as the boundaries rather than trying to pick out houses, you can't just stop there. The Electoral Commission requires you to stick to SA1 boundaries. So that's not, you can't just go, we want to take in an extra row of houses, you've then got to take in the next census division. So it's not like, yeah, just further to Councillor Nardi's point, I think ideally I'd agree with you, but it's not that simple.
Sorry, could I just respond to that? So when we had the briefing, it's fine. 8A is fine in terms of the census data. Fausto has shown that, and they did specifically say it should run along water lines, rather than streets, for geographical boundaries. And what we have there is actually a geographical boundary, Muddy Creek, which becomes a canal, which is being naturalised at the moment. That is a natural boundary there. So actually having the boundary at 8A actually is more in line with what the Electoral Commission actually asked us to do. So I do feel like we might get some pushback as well from the residents as well, and we just don't have time for that once this goes on exhibition. I know that residents are invested around 8A, and I feel like we are risking Bill having a heart attack. So that would be my recommendation, because I don't want the process to get held up, basically.
So if you would, at the moment, there's option 8 in front of us. So unless someone wants to do a foreshadow, that's the recommendation.
Could I please move a foreshadowed motion then that the council endorses option 8A as its preferred proposal for changes to the ward boundary for public exhibition?
Do I have a seconder? Seconded. Councillor Hannah. Okay, councillors, we have a foreshadowed motion, so we'll deal with the foreshadowed motion. Put the motion in a while. All right, so we'll go with the original motion, which is option 8. All those in favour of option 8 say aye. Aye. Against? Okay, we'll take a... No, we'll call a division's been called. Okay, so we'll go with the division. So those in favour of option 8, Councillor Morrissey, Councillor Muscat, Councillor Fardell, Councillor Jansen, Councillor Nagy. Okay, you'll abstain. Yeah, okay. Councillor Saranowski, Councillor Souness, Councillor Werner, Councillor Wada, Councillor Barlow, Councillor Hannah, Councillor Douglas, Councillor McDougall, Councillor Cedric, and I'm for. Declare it carried.
Can I put another foreshadowed motion up? Are we allowed to do that?
No.
Oh.
Sorry. All right. Thank you, councillors. All right, this takes us to 10.4, which is the Local Government New South Wales Annual Conference attendance. So this year it is in Sydney at Rose Hill. So there's a pre-event on the Sunday afternoon, but the conference itself is on the Monday and Tuesday. So councillors, there's no accommodation. You would go out there each day. If I can take a show of hands for councillors who are wishing to nominate to attend this conference. So we'll just go with a show. Did you want to ask a question, Councillor Muscat?
If I can, thank you. Do you have to attend every single day? Can you go?
It's 2 days. So I think it is for, you register for 2 days. I don't think there's a 1-day registration, but we can check.
Okay, thank you.
There might be. So what we'll do, if you want to be tentative and you want to double check things, we can, but we ask by Monday that you, or by next week, that you let council staff know for sure, so that we can, we've probably got there's no accommodation needed, so Yeah, I mean, we've probably got till a couple of weeks. So, but we'll just register those with a show of hands again, please, if you wish to attend. So I have Councillor Jansen. I have Councillor Muscat. I have Councillor Souness, Councillor Werner, Councillor Barlow, and I'll attend as well, please. And Councillor Cedric, and so Councillor Cedric and Muscat, you've just put tentative in brackets and they'll confirm.
Madam Mayor, I just have a question. With the voting at the conference, I note the venue. So I'm assuming it will be first past the post?
Yep.
I just wanted to seek clarity on the point 4, that councillors submit any proposed motions for the conference to be included in a report to council on the 23rd of August 2023 to be adopted. So does that mean that we need to put those motions in at the same time that we'd normally put in a motion, basically?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah. Excellent. No further discussion. No have a mover. And, oh, did I have a mover already? Oh, I was jumped the gun. Moved Councillor Werner, seconding Councillor Jansen. All those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. All right, 10.5, response to notice of motion Bayside Bushcare program. Moved Councillor Jansen, seconded Councillor Fidel. Councillor Jansen.
Yes, I thank the staff for the summary, and it was really, really positive to see that the community have dedicated such a significant amount of hours, in fact 1,300 hours in one financial year of volunteering. And just noted had some kind of concerns about the budget for the expanded program. That said, the costings seem really ridiculously inexpensive for a program that delivers 1,300 volunteer hours in 1 year. But some of the costings in there, such as the number of months per year, February to November is 10 months, not 11 months. So the costings are actually not correct. So, however, as the intent of my original notice of motion was to focus on the existing sites, I'd like to propose that a report come back to committee focusing on the current sites with improvements to address site supervision by qualified bushcare supervisors who are able to deliver that on-site training access to tools, plus the development of a bushcare action plan with clear roles and responsibilities for council staff, contractors, bushcare supervisors, bushcare volunteers and other conservation volunteers. So I'm not in support of the expanded program and those costings. So my amendment is proposing that a report comes back to look at the existing program and how those couple of things can be improved. So I've got that wording here. I'll pass that on.
Thank you, Councillor Jansen.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Are there any other speakers? No other speakers. I might just wait for that. I won't be a moment. So basically, the amendment's just asking for a report to come to committee to look at the existing bushcare groups and how we can enhance their and support them for the amazing volunteering hours they're giving in order to help our natural environments. Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Jansen. All those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. I might have done that, but sorry. All right, that takes us to 10.7, the submission to Sydney's Motorway toll review. So we did have staff represent at that toll review, and Mr. Spelter, who spoke on behalf of council, and it was and really gave our position not just around the cost of tolls, but the impact on our local roads specifically. So Councillor Barlow, you wanted to pull this one out. So move Councillor Barlow second, and Councillor Saranowski. Councillor
Madam
Barlow.
Mayor, I rise to support this. What a difference change in government. This was due, it was supposed to have been a review maybe 3 years ago. But in Sydney, there's two types of people. On the North Shore, it's okay to do the review, but on the south side, no review. On the impacts, and we've had thousands of reports come up on the traffic. Nothing's changed in terms of virtually the enforcement of tolls. And I congratulate, and I wanted to ask if Councillor Barlow could add it, that we congratulate our Premier for the initiative that he's done in terms of an independent review on it. That's long overdue. We called upon the previous governor to do it, and it's too hard. Well, apparently we didn't vote the right way, so if we can add that onto it. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
So it was just to write to the Premier and congratulate him on the review. Did you want to speak, Councillor Barlow?
I moved it. Actually, I just wanted to congratulate the staff again, but also to be the only disappointment was that when I saw that the public was open to the public, they did forget us. They had Parramatta, Penrith, and the city were the only places you could go to speak. I think, or I don't even know if you could write in, which I found disappointing because to me they were looking at the Western Sydney tollways, not the M5, which has created mayhem in Bexley. And I've got two councillors to the right of me that would really understand the sound, the traffic, the lack of sleep, and it's horrendous. And and I've got people always complaining, and the shopkeepers, the Bexley shopkeepers are wonderful to keep staying there with the amount of traffic that's destroying their businesses now. But it would have been great if we'd had something local, but at least we've moved forward, and I congratulate the Premier for at least pushing it forward. And hopefully something will come of it. I don't know what, but we really are, our whole area is affected by only the M5, but it needs to have something done, and especially when it was a road that was already been paid for and was free.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow.
Sorry, I meant to also add, Councillor Barlow, in agreement, the Bayside Council writes and congratulates our local state member for lifting the curfews along Grand Parade and the clearways. Sorry, did I say the clearways? So if we could write here, in terms of the clearways.
So two separate letters.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a wonderful decision.
Thank you, Councillor Douglas.
I just wanted a question through you, Chair, to the staff. As Councillor Barlow noted, the M5 has been paid off. There previously wasn't any tolls. The tolls were introduced by the last government. Is there any reason why our submission doesn't just ask them to reverse the tolls and stop tolls altogether?
Yeah, so it's to do with the contracts. So the former government signed into contracts, which are now will be very difficult. So it's a bit of a minefield to see whether there's even an opportunity to unpack all that. So that's part of that review process as well.
Okay, so would it be helpful if we called on the removal of the tolls in our submission for that review?
So our submission
Doesn't actually...
does it maybe is a staff member here that's so we've got Mr. Spelter online, so I'll ask Mr. Spelter if can you hear me? Yes,
I can. I'm here.
If you don't, did you hear the question?
I did hear the question. I do know that the tolling of the M5 East was introduced as part of the deal for the West Connects for the M8. So that was part of the deal they made at the time to have the M8 constructed. By all means, we can put what we want in our submission. Most of the submissions have related to toll relief. As earlier mentioned, it is going to be very difficult for the state government to make any wholesale changes to the existing contracts. But by all means, we could change our strong call for a solution similar to North Connects to force the trucks to just a straight out call for the M5 East to return to a toll-free route.
Thank you, Mr. Spelter. So that was you'd get 10% back. Under you'd pay, but then you get 10%. You'd get 90% back when you claimed your tolls. That was the previous thing. I mean, it's up to the mover and seconder, Councillor Barlow. Councillor Saranowski, if you happy to add that to the submission. Yes, Mr. Spelter, if you could add something around reverting back to the previous model, that would be wonderful. Thank you. So that just the recommendation just becomes that in the that council includes a call to revert back to the previous toll fee structure, which was a 90. I mean, we don't have to put it, but which was a 90%.
Madam Mayor, are you actually referring to the current M5 cashback scheme? Because that's still in place. What has happened is the additional toll that relates to the section that's now known as the M8. Now, what the cashback for the M5?
I don't think you don't get your cash back anymore. It's over.
No, you do. You still get the M5 cashback. It's what's happening, Madam Mayor, is that the motorists and the truck drivers are leaving the M5 at King George's Road, because if they go beyond that, they were then subjected to an additional toll which is not subject to cashback. Now that toll at the moment is something in the vicinity of $8 for a car and moving towards $30 for a truck. Now, at those levels, it is simply not price economic to actually use that toll road.
Okay.
So that's the reason the trucks, yes.
So how do you suggest we word it then at council?
Well, I think the only way to do it is to introduce a cashback scheme for the M8 section. However, the cashback scheme only applies to private motorists. It doesn't apply to trucks. The problem that we've got, Madam Mayor, relates to trucks.
Yeah.
The problem does not relate to private cars. The noise and the pollution relates to trucks, and it goes 24/7. It is particularly bad at night. Particularly bad because that's when the trucks believe they can get a clearer run, and that's why the residents are faced with noise 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
It is simply a matter of the pricing being completely wrong. Because if a truck is prepared, even during the day, if these B doubles are prepared to be stuck in traffic to save $30 each way, it means that the price is wrong. So I think we need to argue that the toll, particularly for trucks, is reduced dramatically. Now, by whatever means, I don't know, they're going to have to fiddle with the contract.
So take out the 90% there. So what? So if we say that council endorses the trust, subject to including, what is it? Yep. Okay, that sounds good. Is everyone happy with that? Councillor Barlow, Councillor Saranowski? Tolling fee structure. Everyone happy with that? All right, excellent. All those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. Takes us to 10.8. This is the progress report on outstanding councillor notices of motion Moved Councillor Hannah, seconded Councillor Jansen. Councillor Hannah?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, I found this very informative, and thank you to the Director for preparing it. I just had a question. I noticed, I counted 13 outstanding matters, and I just wanted to double check that that was the full extent of the outstanding notices of motion that haven't received some sort of action, or whether or not this was part A of a couple of parts. Are we confident that we've captured them all? That was really my question.
So I might turn to Acting General Manager.
Through you, Madam Mayor, when we've looked through the data that Council has, we are at those numbers and they are the latest figures. And in regards to notices that still have to be actioned, that's where the number is. I thought it was 16 when I counted them earlier, but obviously it's 13.
Thank you, Mr. Clissold. Councillor Douglas?
Well, sorry to disappoint, but I did find 2 notice of motions that I raised last year that were passed on the floor that weren't mentioned in the report. And I didn't do a thorough check back through all of the
So I might
minutes.
just ask you to email those through and the staff can have a look.
Okay.
And that's the same for all councillors. If you think there might be something that has gone waylaid, just please email it through and it can be cross-checked. Anything else? All right. All those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. 10.9, our statutory financial report for May 2023. Moved Councillor Hannah, seconded Councillor Souness. Councillor Hannah?
I think I had to exclude myself from the last meeting when we talked about finances, and I was very disappointed that I had to do that. But look, congratulations on this report. Any outsider would look at this and go, wow, aren't they sitting on a lot of money? That's why I want to rise to reinforce yet again. Probably we've never had a situation where this country has seen essentially wall-to-wall Labor governments except for Tasmania. We have a Labor government in the state. We have Labor-controlled councils. And in this area, we probably have the highest number of ministers and the Premier in our local government area. And I can't really think of a time where we've had so much access to premiers and ministers very, very close to us, and we have a Labor-controlled council here. Our stars have aligned, and I really think now that the state election is over, the backslapping has finished, the honeymoon period is over, we can't let this opportunity go to actually get some structural reform. Now, it was passed at the last local government conference unanimously. I don't know what they've done with it, but I think as a council we really need to go on the front foot with this, and surely we've got enough people around here with contacts to line up a meeting with the Premier and the Treasurer and sit down to push the case, because if there's other councils that are around that are sitting on $500 million, right, in restricted funds, with a state government now tightening the screws and a federal government now tightening the screws, watch out. So we really need to go on the front foot and get this structural reform happening, because if we can get this changed so that we can start using a portion of those funds to meet our maintenance shortfall, it's going to help the state government as well. So the stars are currently aligned, and they may not stay that way. So that's why I wanted to rise to talk about this. People would look at it and go, oh, look, they're sitting on all this money, not realising it is all restricted reserves. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hannah. Right, no further speakers. All those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. This takes us to item 12.2. Councillors, going to be early night for you. We're keeping a new executive, not making it too late for you. All right, 12.2 notice of motion, traffic management measures using speed humps to reduce speeding, hooning and anti-social behaviour. Move Councillor Cedric, second Councillor McDougall. Would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, I'll be brief as possible. As you can imagine, in particular, Ward 5, this is a massive issue once again. I want to thank the staff who have helped with a lot of the concepts here, the Mayor, the Deputy Mayor, as well as Councillor McDougall, who seconded this. We've worked together in coming up with a practical solution. And as you know, in Ward 5, it has been reported widely on the news. I get at least a phone call or two every few days about something to do with hooning and speeding. And as a result, we know that cameras have worked. There's no doubt about that. Any street that has had a camera, like Vanston Parade, Sononi Avenue in Ward 5, has been very successful. However, we can't put a camera on every single street. So we need to look at the next best thing. And the next best thing that we know for a fact, which stops or eliminates or assists with hooning and speeding, is speed humps. And I know this is not a popular measure, but I have a very good friend who lives in the Brighton vicinity who likes to call himself a hoon, who doesn't like a lot of the things that we're putting forward. So I went with him on a drive and I tried to get an understanding of what a hoon or what a speeding rev head is thinking. I did it many years ago, so I wasn't very comfortable with this. So anyway, basically it's quite easy. They start off at Brighton, they do a handful of laps, say hi to all the people at the cafes and the restaurants. They go around a few times, they hit Grand Parade, General Holmes Drive, they do another few laps, then they head south, basically to the Dolls Point, Sandringham region, San Souci region, and they turn off onto Malua Street. They go through a lot of those back streets, then they end up at the end of our southern part of Ward 5, which is Riverside Drive. Being on the water, as you can imagine, a lot of these rev heads or hoons, this is a great attraction being on the water. God forbid they go to somewhere where it's lit up. So, this is basically the pattern of our hoon in Ward 5. And I want to thank my friend who might be listening online for some of those insights. So, how this motion is targeted, if you could just push up a little bit, Anne, please. Okay, it's in two parts. The first part, basically we know that speed humps works. Chicanes are quite positive, but a lot of the cars and the bikes are using them as a racetrack on the southern part, and they speed up. So there's two parts to this. The first part I consider to be a no-brainer. Now, we're looking at all those southern parts where they're doing the laps and laps and laps, and we're looking at the streets or the locations where speed humps, if they were to go in, does not affect residents. So that's the first part of the motion. And the first part really looks at, for example, on Riverside Drive, you've got outside of Scott Park there's already one speed hump. Having a second one will create that boundary or hindrance for these hoons. Also on Malua Street, as you enter going down further into Sandringham and San Souci, at the beginning of Malua Street, where they turn off Grand Parade and they use that as a bit of a racetrack, there's at least an opportunity for us to put 1 to 2 speed humps to eliminate that circuit. So these 4 points are basically asking the officers to come back to the Traffic Committee of October or earlier and say, you know what, this does not affect residents. This does not affect anybody because it's in an area where it's going to eliminate, or sorry, not eliminate, but reduce, hopefully, the speeding and hooning, but at the same time will not affect residents. So that's the first part. Now, in going out to a lot of the residents that are dramatically affected, and you might have seen this on the news recently, one in Riverside Drive. I had a site meeting with a lot of the residents out there, and they're all for speed humps in their street. However, I think the right thing to do, because they're over it. See, the way they see it is, well, I would rather the speed hump noise than that 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. that bike coming through and revving up the streets. So I think the right thing to do is, number one, option one is they're the no-brainers. They're the real simple ones that doesn't affect our residents. Number two is where we investigate potential locations in Sans Souci, Dolls Point and Sandringham to look at adding additional speed humps. Now, for example, on my way here, I did another few laps of this circuit. I know for a fact that some streets are quite in favour of it, such as Riverside Drive. They've got a dramatic problem, and they've been calling out and calling out. This is quite a cost-effective measure to put in place. We'll come back to a traffic committee, we'll come back to council, so we're not voting on it. We're just going out to community consultation. We're getting our traffic committee to look at it to see if we could stop this. This comes on all the time. The mayor's been on the radio recently, and she did a great job of that. It's never going to end. And if we're going to take this serious, then we've got to put these speed humps in. Some streets might not want it. And that's why I didn't say all of Ward 5. What I would love to see is if we use this southern region, the Sans Souci, Dolls Point and Sandringham, which is the most dramatically affected, if it works there, then let's implement it in the other hotspots. Looking at the 50 hotspots that we've got across Bayside, Ward 5 is overrepresented, especially on the southern part, but also, as you know, in Brighton and Kiama, and I think we would use these same measures in other places. So I guess to summarise, this is really, other than getting those smart cameras in or the noise camera, or whatever cameras there are, this is a real cost-effective measure that we could all, we don't like them, I don't like speed humps, but we need to help these residents, and this is one of the most positive ways going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cedric. Any other speakers? Councillor Douglas?
I support any motion that helps with hooning in our area. I do have, though, concerns about the speed humps. I do really, we have to be sure that the consultation is done right, because being on the traffic committee early in, there was a speed hump put in Bexley and then removed because people don't like them outside their homes. They do create extra noise. So we don't want to be throwing away council money. So public consultation first. I would also just wanted to bring some good news as well to the chamber, that in terms of an update on the noise cameras. So just to reflect back, Peaceful Bayside started consulting with the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea about noise cameras a few years ago. I brought that to council as a motion in February 2022, and we passed that we would write to relevant ministers to see if we could get noise camera trials in New South Wales. We also, as a council, passed a motion that went to Local Government New South Wales conference that was also passed on the floor there. So Local Government New South Wales now also support the campaign for noise camera trials in New South Wales. As part of the New South Wales election this year, our local member Steve Camper announced a pre-election promise for a noise camera trial in Bayside, which was good news for Bayside, great news for Bayside, but great news for the state as well, and all of Australians who are suffering with this issue. So I thank Minister Camper now for his efforts there. I will also note that the Wollongong Council, Councillor Martin, is bringing a motion to Wollongong Council on Monday night, asking that the trial for noise cameras is extended from Bayside to Wollongong as well, to help them deal with their issues there. I was also contacted by a concerned resident in Goulburn this week who works with head injuries, and she sees the other end of the story of the people involved in hooning that end up in hospitals with bad head injuries. So this is an issue. It's not just about protecting residents and our sleep. it's also about protecting the lives of those young men and women who are doing antisocial, dangerous behaviour. I know that Minister Camper's office, electoral office at least, is on board for having the trials for the noise camera, not just in Bay Street, but down in Sandringham as well. We've been talking about Clareville Avenue. And the good thing about the noise cameras is that they're also movable. So you can move them from hotspots to hotspots. And in the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea, it's eliminated their hooning issues. And they have a different structure of government there, where the local communities in their wards get to vote on some slush fund that the community can use for whatever they want. And again, they've voted for more noise cameras because it has been fixing their issue. So I just wanted to give that quick update that there is good news on the way for residents in Sandringham and Bay Street should these noise camera trials go ahead. But also we need to still get legislative change as well to support them to have a fine structure. So change doesn't happen quickly, unfortunately. So I think if we can get, through this public consultation, if we can get some amelioration of the noise issues in Sandringham through through speed humps, great, as long as it's not making more noise and more problems for the community.
Thank you, Councillor Douglas. Any other speakers? Councillor McDougall.
I'll just speak very briefly. I note how quickly we're getting through this meeting, so I'll try not to take up too much time. But I would just like to note that I do welcome Councillor Cedric bringing this motion here. And in response to Councillor Douglas, I'm, from years on the traffic committee and from dealing with these issues, I would almost always advise against speed humps outside houses because the cure is often worse than the disease. But I do know that Councillor Cedric has proposed that all of these be situated next to public parks, so they actually avoid that issue, which I think is a great way of dealing with this. But obviously, when these things go up to traffic committee, they should have standard notifications and all of that sort of thing as well. But regardless, look, I welcome the motion and look forward to another action by Bayside Council to combat hooning.
Thank you, Councillor McDougall. Yeah, no, I think too, it's, Council has done in quite a lot with a range of different measures and now and the cameras and all sorts of things. And I think we also commend St George Pack too for their blitz a couple of weeks ago, which was very effective, and encourage more of those because I think that presence really helps to prevent the hooning. Councillor Barlow.
That's all right. Well, I read this and I sort of went, oh, usually you go and you put a CRM in. I think Councillor Werner, she did take my advice about going through the process of going to a CRM. This could have been just something that went through and the staff worked it out, but it didn't happen. And then I thought, oh, we've got an election this year. I went, no, I haven't got an election this year. It's next year that I remember. But what I'm saying is that I find it difficult, if you're not a traffic engineer, to say, I want 2 speed humps. There's regulations of when they've got to be or where they are, or there could be a fire hydrant there, there could be all sorts of things. But to say, I want 2 here, I want 2 there, I don't know where that's come from. I'm not a traffic engineer. It was Bexley North that refused, was a government grant to put all these speed humps in. We had to remove them because we didn't remove them, we just didn't build them. We had to give them money back because those residents did not want speed humps. So there's a big difference about putting them in, what we had in Bexley North was an LATM. Maybe that's what you should be doing here, not just naming a street and saying, I'll have 2 here, I'll have 2 here, 2 here. With an LATM, they actually do a the whole area. So a local area traffic management plan. And that to me would have been the most sensible thing to do, is that you just put up, well, we'll have this. To me, I'm disappointed that it's become like this. It should have been just, can we have a local area traffic management plan for this area around here? The traffic engineers then understand the whole issue. They can work it out of where it's going to go. So it's just interesting. And yes, chicanes are really, to me, they slow everyone down. When I go down the promenade and I go all the way along to the motorboat club, it slows you right down. And to me, if you could have that, that is actually the best way to slow traffic. And the chicanes along the promenade have been there for quite years now that I can remember. And that to me is the only way you can do it if the street's wide enough. But anyway, we'll see what happens. But I'm disappointed that it's not just gone through the right way that everyone else asked for. When you name streets and maybe they can't do it, then it's, we'll see what happens. But anyway.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow. I'm sure we've got a very good traffic engineer team. I'm sure they will come up with a good plan and do their due diligence. I might just, if I can, just to ensure that we spell out the term community consultation in your motion, just so it's not a notification but an actual consultation. So if we could just add that, number 2. Yeah, and just add number 3, that community consultation take place. Yep, okay, great. Councillor Naji.
Thank you. On a humorous note, seeing so many speed humps, maybe we should look to change St. Susie to Humpy Susie, I think that sounds good. Having said that, look, no, I didn't mean it in that sexual way, but Madam Mayor, look, I agree with the notice of motion. Just Councillor McDougall is right. He's been on the traffic committee many times, and the council that I could speak only since 2004 till present, we tried everything to combat hooning. And I agree with Councillor Barlow. You can have a process that way, but let me assure you what Councillor Cedric did, every other councillor in the past has done. And I remember Councillor Mosselmain, Councillor Saranovsky, all of them put up notice of motion to take it to the traffic committee. I just would like to add, because speeding hump aren't popular anymore, but maybe keep speeding humps, but add / calming devices, and let the traffic committee, let the experts decide, because I've seen traffic calming devices work just as much as the speeding humps. So either one, they might come back and say speeding humps, or they might come back and have a different design of a calming devices, and I'll support this notice of motion.
Yep. All right. Yeah, well, I think actually traffic calming devices actually cover everything: chicane, speed humps. So let's replace, if you're comfortable, replace speed humps with traffic calming devices.
Just as long as there's no chicanery in the report, Madam Mayor.
All right, councillors. All those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. Councillor Werner, I believe you're withdrawing your motion, 12.3.
Yes, I am. I've found out that the program that I was referring to, since I put this motion up, I found out that it's actually been discontinued for now. So I'd like to withdraw the motion.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Withdrawn. All right, number 13, questions with notice. Some people may have sent in questions with notice. We take the questions with notice on notice. All right, there being no further business, I declare the meeting closed at 8:38. We'll just wait till we're, wait.